When I was a child, I genuinely believed my father could fix anything. And I mean anything. Broken toys, broken appliances, broken hearts. If you've ever been 7 years old and watched your dad's hands work magic on something you were convinced was gone forever, you know that feeling. That absolute certainty that your parent is invincible. But what I discovered years later didn't just change how I saw my father. It changed how I see every relationship I've ever had. Picture it, 9 years old, standing in our garage on a Saturday morning. My bike, my prized possession, my ticket to freedom, lay on the concrete with its chain tangled into an impossible knot of metal and grease. I'd tried everything. I'd cried, I'd pulled, I'd probably made it worse. And then Dad walked in, wiping sleep from his eyes, coffee in hand. He looked at that bike for maybe 3 seconds and said, "I can fix this." Not, "I'll try." Not, "Maybe, I can fix this." And 20 minutes later, I was riding down the street, waned in my hair, convinced my father was some kind of superhero. Every kid has their version of this story. The leaky faucet he stopped with parts from the hardware store. The computer that wouldn't turn on until his hands touched it. The time he lifted something impossibly heavy like it weighed nothing at all. My father had this way of approaching broken things with complete confidence, this unshakable belief that every problem had a solution if you just thought about it long enough. I carried that belief with me everywhere. Failed a math test? Dad would explain it in a way that finally made sense. Friendship falling apart? He'd know exactly what to say. The world felt safe because I had this person who could fix anything, who knew everything, who never seemed uncertain about anything, but childhood beliefs don't last forever. I was 16 when I first saw the cracks. Dad's truck broke down, and for the first time, he couldn't fix it. He spent 3 weekends in the driveway, tools spread around him like a surgeon's instruments, and nothing worked. Eventually, we had to tow it to a mechanic. I remember watching him hand over the keys, and there was something in his face I'd never seen before. Something that looked almost like defeat. I told myself it was a fluke. One thing he couldn't fix. That didn't erase all the things he could. Then I turned 18, and my parents sat me down for a conversation I didn't see coming. They were struggling. Money was tight. They'd been struggling for a while, actually, years. And I realized my father couldn't fix that either. He couldn't fix the economy, couldn't fix the industry that was leaving him behind, couldn't fix the fear I saw in my mother's eyes when she looked at the bills. That's when the questions started flooding in. All those times he'd fixed things. Had he really? Or had some of them just been temporary patches, kind words, confident reassurances that made me feel better without actually solving anything? The computer that worked after he touched it, had it just needed to restart? The heavy thing he lifted, had it actually been that heavy, or was I just small? By 22, I was convinced I'd figured it out. My father wasn't a superhero. He was just a man. A man who'd worked hard and done his best, sure, but fundamentally limited. Human. Fallible. All those years, I'd projected my need for security onto him, and he'd played along because that's what parents do. I felt embarrassed. How had I believed in someone so completely? How had I missed all the signs that he was just as lost as everyone else? But here's what nobody tells you about growing up. Sometimes you have to grow up twice. The first time you realize your parents aren't perfect. The second time you realize that was never the point. I'm 29 now. Last month, my own kitchen sink started leaking. I called my dad, even though I have YouTube, even though I have money for a plumber. He drove 2 hours to help me, and I watched him work, and this time I really saw what was happening. He didn't know exactly what he was doing. He tried 3 different approaches before one worked. He got frustrated. He had to look up a video on his phone. He made a joke about getting old, about how his back hurt from bending over. But he never stopped trying, and that's when it finally clicked. My father couldn't fix everything. He never could. But he'd spent my entire childhood showing up anyway. Every single time I came to him with something broken, he showed up. Even when he wasn't sure. Even when he was tired. Even when he probably knew he might fail. He wasn't teaching me that every problem has a solution. He was teaching me that you face problems anyway. You try anyway. You show up for the people you love even when you don't have all the answers. That bike chain when I was 9? He'd probably never untangled one that badly before, but he looked at his kid's devastated face and said, "I can fix this." Because sometimes people need to hear those words more than they need perfect solutions. The math test? He didn't magically make me understand calculus. He sat with me for 3 hours because I needed to know someone believed I could figure it out. The friendship advice? Half of it probably didn't work. But I felt heard. I felt less alone. We spend our whole lives looking for people who can fix things, fix us, fix our problems, fix our pain. We get disappointed when we realize nobody can do that. Nobody has all the answers. Nobody is invincible, but we're asking the wrong question. It's not, "Can you fix this?" It's, "Will you try? Will you show up? Will you sit in the mess with me and not leave just because it's hard?" My father couldn't fix everything, but he fixed the thing that mattered most. He showed me what love looks like when the magic tricks stop working. It looks like persistence. It looks like showing up with a coffee and a toolbox, even when you're not sure what to do. It looks like saying, "I can fix this," even when you mean, "I'll die trying." That's the truth beneath the childhood lie. I didn't need a superhero. I needed someone who would show up when things broke. And he always did. He still does. So if you're realizing your parents aren't who you thought they were, you're right. They're not perfect. They can't fix everything. But look closer at what they've actually been doing all these years. Because the real magic isn't in their hands. It's in the fact that they keep reaching out anyway. If you made it this far, thank you for letting me share this. I make videos about the lies we believed as kids, and the truths we're still learning as adults. About love, about family, about all the ways we get things wrong before we finally get them right. If that resonates, hit subscribe, because next week, I'm talking about the moment I realized my mother wasn't just being paranoid all those years. And when you understand what she was actually afraid of, you'll call her, I promise. Until then, call your dad. Not because he can fix your problems, because he'll answer anyway.